So there we go. All right, 3, 2, and 1. Well, Administrator Leonhard, welcome back to Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. Always like to get over here once or twice a year and update on what the county is doing here. Of course, we've got one of the biggest counties, in the nation. In fact, I just asked the question of my boss from the East Coast: what's bigger, Rhode Island or Marathon County? Right?
Great quiz question.
It's got to be close. We haven't figured out the answer yet.
Oh, we win.
But yeah,
we are large.
Of course, we always win. So, but yeah, you've got the tall task of keeping everything together here at the courthouse and among all the county employees. So I guess first things off, what's new? What's been happening in the last few months, right?
Well, a lot as always, but first I want to say thank you again for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
This is the wonderful time of the year for all municipal governments, including Marathon County, and that's budget time. So that's the big thing that's going on right now. We've again reviewed and kind of made some changes to our budget process at the direction of the county board, which I think if you're a taxpayer in Marathon County, you should be very proud. The board has given very good direction with some key ideas that should guide me as their employee to develop the budget that ultimately they'll review, and they always have the opportunity to change. So that's really where our head has been the last month and a half, for sure. But other than that, we have a lot of great stuff happening.
Yeah, and as far as the budget goes, I mean, right off the bat, I guess it's kind of question one or information one that people want, especially right here in Wausau, is we had the revaluation. Some people have been floored by how their property values went up, which of course is always a good thing, but it could mean a little bump on taxes as well. Do you know how that fits in the process yet? Or is that something that is kind of further down on the list, because we're talking the whole county here, and it wasn't the whole county that got revaluated. It was just that percentage right there in the middle. That is Wausau, Schofield, right?
Sure, it's a great question, and I certainly appreciate it. I mean, I live in the city of Wausau, so I received that revaluation information. It's important to remember, because the answer is complex, and my answer is going to be the legal, put my old lawyer hat on for a minute. It depends. Yeah. So property taxes are apportioned based on equalized value. So every municipality has an equalized value calculation that the Department of Revenue oversees for the state of Wisconsin. So the fact that one municipality goes through a revaluation process, which is required by law for various circumstances to go through that, there's a time period when they just have to do them, and also there are some circumstances that can trigger one. If you think about it as two property owners that live, myself and my neighbor, let's say we had identical houses, same time, they're, for all intents and purposes, they are identical. If we went through a revaluation process and we hadn't done anything really differently, the idea through revaluation is that they're going to go up similarly. And if the same is true in the rest of the community, the city of Wausau, in my example, if everyone goes up proportionally the same, the way the tax collection process goes in the state of Wisconsin, effectively all that's going to do is drive down the tax rate, assuming the overall tax levy, that is the amount that's collected by the government, doesn't change. That same general principle holds true when you look at people that perhaps have the same home or valued property in neighboring municipalities, and one goes through a revaluation. Because we use equalized value to apportion the tax to the municipalities that then collect it. If all else remains the same, my property might be worth $200,000, but your property in a community that just went through a revaluation that the day before was the same as mine in terms of valuation, maybe now yours is $400,000. Dramatic increase, just in my hypothetical example. Your rate, assuming all else stayed the same, the proportional share of our community's value relative to equalized value didn't change, your rate would just go down substantially, and mine would probably stay the same. So again, it's a really complex thing. I totally appreciate that when people get that in the mail, they have a lot of questions. Are my property taxes going to go up 45% or 30% or whatever you would have seen in a revaluation? And again, the answer is in all likelihood not. But there's a lot of factors that play into that. But it absolutely, it makes sense that members of the public have those questions.
Mhm.
I would encourage them to reach out to their individual municipalities to ask those questions, should they have them. And then you'll certainly see more about that when you do get your final property tax bill. The thing I'll say on the county side, when I talk about the budget, the county board of supervisors gave me some pretty clear direction to one of their touchstones is always be very fiscally responsible. And one of the things that can impact property tax levy, certainly for the county, but also for municipalities, is whether or not you issue new debt. Because debt and the collection of debt levy is outside of the operating levy. I know I'm using a lot of technical terms, but Marathon County's direction to me, the Board of Supervisors, was we're not issuing any new debt. We want to really be good stewards of the tax dollar. So we're not planning on issuing any new debt in accordance with the budget. So I think that, again, takes some solace in the fact that, and I think a lot of the municipalities are in a similar boat, really trying to limit what that impact to taxpayers is.
Yeah, and I've heard one thing that a few mayors have used is a tax staying flat, no new spending actually means a decrease because of the way things have been valued, the rate of inflation here in recent years. So that has always meant doing more with less, essentially, right?
Yeah, there's largely a function of the levy limits. But at the end of the day, the tax collection system in the state of Wisconsin, property tax specifically, I think people need to remember, to your point earlier, home values going up can be a good thing. I mean, it's not money in your wallet, it's not realized funds, but it's important to remember that property tax is a value-based tax. So as the value of your property goes up, which is again a good thing if you're looking to divest yourself of that property, also a good thing if you think of your own personal balance sheet, but that's the way it's set up. That's how property taxes are collected.
So when can we see maybe some drafts of the budget and get an idea really of where that mill rate is going to be set for the county portion of that nice four-piece present that arrives every December?
Absolutely. Great question. My goal is to deliver the county budget to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors, specifically the Human Resources, Finance, and Property Committee in early October. Specifically right now, our target is October 9th. We're still working through a lot. We've got, again, those kind of the guideposts, the guidelines, the things to focus on as county staff as we build that budget. We got that from the county board. Again, one of those is no new issuance of debt. Another is to really look at the fees for service we have for specific programs. I'm very proud of our staff. The county board gave us a directive where we do have fees for services to, again, limit the need to issue new debt. One of the things you need to do is really be strong in your operations. So identifying those areas where, hey, our fees, our cost to do business has gone up, and where we have the opportunity to charge for fees, where it's appropriate, we're bringing back recommendations to do that. So those are just a couple of those areas, but the goal is October 9th, and I am very confident we'll get there. But I am going to be giving updates, as I have been to this point, to the various standing committees about what they can expect to see in the budget proposal. So one of the real focuses of our budget process is to provide early and often opportunities for our elected officials, our county board of supervisors, to really impact the budget development. At the end of the day, the county elected officials are the closest to their constituents. We staff take direction from them as to what our budget should look like. So we've framed that conversation around three things. One, what services or programs do we deliver? Two, at what service level do we deliver them? And the last one that I just alluded to is at what cost? Do we charge? There are things that we're required to do on the first question, programs that are mandated. There are a lot of things that we deliver that we're not required to do, but constituents, residents really expect them and they value them. So then we go into the other two parts of each of those. At what level? Roads, for example. I know everyone, I care a lot about roadways too. We're required to provide a roadway network. That said, the state doesn't go out there and say, hey, you need to do it at this level. that's really a community function. So our county board has given us a clear direction about what that target is. And we build a budget in accordance with trying to maintain that. And similarly, like I talked about with fees for service, at what cost, where it's appropriate to pass along costs for programs that really benefit, whether it's an individual or a group, we look for opportunities to do that. So if you think about a permit, for example, if you live in a municipality where you have to get a county permit, there's a cost associated with that. And making sure that our costs are in line with what is appropriate based on, I should say, our fees are in line with what our costs are.
Indeed. And again, roads, as you mentioned, a real big one right there. So with no new debt issuance, that means, is this going to be, could we expect maybe an average year for road repairs next year? I know obviously we're still in the middle of road construction season this year, but I'm sure that's something that you've looked at as well, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So I think we're still in the budget development right now, but I have to give a big shout out to our team down at the highway department, including our highway commissioner, Jim Griesbach. He does a great job of looking for alternative funding sources. So a lot of the programs through the state of Wisconsin, the state does provide some cost offset for various road projects. Jim applies for every opportunity. He frequently talks about if, the 80-20 split where the state will pay 80%. Jim's saying, if you're going to give me $1, I'm going to show up with a whole bunch of dimes to give to do that trade. So he does great. And I know we had just this year, we've been awarded a number of projects. So I think you can expect, again, in accordance with the direction from the board, we want to make sure that our highway system, which, as you alluded to before we started about Rhode Island, we're larger than the state of Rhode Island. We have the largest highway network of any county in the state of Wisconsin by a mile, pardon the pun.
Yep.
So maintaining a PACER rating of 7, that's that quality rating. Again, when I talk about what programs or services at what level, one of the ways we measure level of service in roads is a PACER rating, a pavement rating. They gave us clear direction, target is 7, and we're really striving to do that. But a lot of that is talking about leveraging funds, whether they're available at the state level or even federal applications for funding, to make sure that the taxpayers of Marathon County are getting the greatest value.
Great analogy right there. The PACER rating of 7. We actually had a story at one point last week about how people were celebrating Wisconsin's highway grade being a C-, saying that's one of the best in the nation. Shoot for the middle sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, PACER rating tops out at 10. So 10 is brand new, just paved.
Right.
I'd love to say that we pave all the roads every year, but I don't think anyone would like their tax bill if we did that. So we're really striving to hit that 7. That's really that sweet spot for us. We have, of course, some roads that are below that are looking for certain types of maintenance and reconstruction at some point, but a lot of them are. We did a lot of roadway work recently.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been a lot done in Marathon County, whether it's state or even a few big projects here in the city of Wausau. So I think a lot of people, you had the directive from the governor to fix the roads.
Yeah. And
that's certainly been getting done here in Marathon County. Speaking of the highway department, I know one thing that it's kind of been a goal of yours over the long range goal is decreasing the number of roofs in that the county's responsible for. I've had a roof replacement. I know what they're like. So there's the pun right there. The fewer roofs you have to maintain, the less maintenance costs you have, right? Where are we at as far as that goal right now?
Yeah, a great point. That has been a real focus of the county board, and certainly a focus of mine based on their direction to really consolidate our facilities. The more we can get our staff and our team to a fewer number of buildings. To your point about roofs, they're expensive. Parking lots, same thing, and all the equipment that goes in a building. So that's been a focus. I'm very proud to say we're on schedule, or even a little bit ahead of schedule, relative to our work down on our Lakeview campus. Our plan is to be completely off of River Drive by the end of the second quarter of next year, which is excellent news because I know the county board is looking forward to really diving in and figuring out what redevelopment of that site looks like. We're going to be in a position very soon, I hope, with respect to Thomas Street. Largely our staff are removed from that facility. Those are 2 high value pieces of property, at least in terms of high value in terms of redevelopment. The county is going to have to make some choices, the county board, relative to what that means. But the opportunity for the entire community, the entire county community, about what that can mean for the county is, I think, very, very large.
Again, this is one thing that we've been talking about for a couple of years
Yeah.
now. I was not expecting that much of an update. We make the joke, speed of government.
Yeah.
Goal of the second quarter of next year that you could have a whole complex, ready to RFP. I think that's pretty significant.
Yeah. Our plan, we have tentative move-in dates, and we're going to be taking some departments out of even this courthouse. I know finance, part of administration, and our HR department. We're going to have a presence kind of split between the courthouse and at our new Lakeview Drive facility. The reason for that is we have space constraints here, and the longer we can put off substantive renovation to the courthouse, it's a good thing for the taxpayers. If you look at some of our neighbors that have recently done a lot of facility projects, particularly with a jail, they're really, really expensive. Very proud to say that a lot of our projects, we got a lot of work done when interest rates were advantageous for county governments as well as individuals. But yeah, River Drive will be our Parks, Rec, and Forestry Department, Conservation, Planning and Zoning, Veterans, and UW Extension will be off of that site by the end of the second quarter next year. So I think that's, again, when the county board gave that direction, staff have done a good job. It's been a challenging period of construction. If you think about all the things that happened between 2019 and today.
No doubt.
There are a couple of years there that I don't like to reflect upon, but
Right.
We've gotten a lot done.
Indeed. And as far as the highway department on West Street, any idea there that where you could maybe get a new facility? I know you've been looking possibly somewhere outside of the city as well, because that's part of a much bigger plan on the west side there by the park.
Absolutely, and I think we've made some good headway. We've been having meetings with our various committees. We have some tentative plans that, again, at the end of the day, the county board is going to provide us direction as to what that future looks like. But I think the ultimate message is one of, it's consistent with what I just alluded to, consolidating our footprint, whether that means multiple departments on a single site, like I just alluded to here at the courthouse or at Lakeview Drive, or just thinking about our highway department. Our highway department is large and it has satellite facilities, and to the greatest extent possible, if we can reduce the number of satellites that we need, that too is a good thing for taxpayers. So I hope we have some resolution as to kind of what that future looks like. But Jim Griesbach again explains that the highway department on West Street was built in the 30s, and that was the edge of town.
Exactly.
It's not the edge of town right now. And is it what does the future look like? We either need to make some substantive investments in that facility if we're going to stay there, or is the long-term strategy one of let's look for a place that better suits us for decades to come? And really, we're engaging the county board on that, and I think that's going very, very well.
We'll look forward to seeing where that goes in the next few years. Well, Lance, we always appreciate the time. I'll look forward to chatting again in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks again. It was my pleasure.